What is happening, y'all? Cowboy here, and welcome back to another weapon showcase. And this time around, we're taking a look at my top 5 dexterity choices from Shadow of the Erdtree. Now, obvious spoilers, as we're going to be talking about boss weapons and things from the game. But regardless, let's jump in and talk about what Dex has in store. Now, first up, we have the Curseblade Cirque. Now, this one I like mainly because of Deadly Dance. I do want to point out real fast that there is another Cirque that's very nice with the Smith script. That's one where your heavy attacks are going to throw it, very similar to the hammer. But the backhand blade is a new weapon type, very similar to like dual scimitars. And what I really like here is it's just one weapon, but when you two-hand it, you get it in each hand, which that just in and of itself is nice. We have the quick 1-2 that you're very familiar with you know, the scimitars would do that, or the curved swords would do that. And this thing is a very, very quick killing weapon. It's very easy to just run up, slice through enemies, multi-attacks. The bleed on it is obviously good. You know, pretty much every single one of these weapons has bleed. Actually, there's only one weapon in the deck showcase that doesn't have bleed. And there's the Deadly Dance. Pretty nice against bigger targets. We get that little spin to win and then a little follow-up stagger hit. You can see while it doesn't have the raw AoE potential that the strength weapon had, this is definitely very quick. Almost every single attack we got quick follow-ups going out. We got a little bit of a head snipe with the jumping heavy. When I think of Dex, this is what comes to mind. A weapon that's just very fast, has a little bit of bleed built in, feels right at home for dexterity users. Resetting them and pulling out our next weapon. I think a lot of people are going to be fans of this one. This is the Sword of Night. Now, at first glance, this just looks like a pretty basic katana with a little bit of magic damage on it. But what's nice about the Sword of Night is this is a unblockable katana. Functions very similar to, say, the Shodel or the scythe, in the sense that it's going to penetrate the enemy guard. I think the penetration factor may even be higher than those weapons, but regardless, we have a katana that can cut through guard and it has bleed on it. Very, very strong weapon in its own right, and it has that standard katana moveset that we're all so familiar with that just cuts through. I think this is going to be a really popular one in PvP. You know, people love to turtle behind their shields. We have Witching Hour Slash, which is kind of quick. Just quick, get that damage in. And then we also have a charged version of it, which is quite strong. I'll try and, if I can get up behind our Great Shield bro right here, I'll do the charged version on him. The staggers hurt. I like the charged version, but I almost never end up using it. Just because the quick version comes out so much faster, and it does the same amount of penetration. I think this is going to be our new Rivers of Blood, to be honest. I think people are going to... Oh, edgy katana! Cuts through shields, that's awesome. And now this one's going to be a little bit tricky to get. To get this, there is a NPC quest line involving the manor that's on like the northeast side of the DLC. If you follow that whole quest line through, eventually you'll have a choice of Grace or Occlusion with an NPC that's in that area. If you choose Grace, you get an Ash of War. If you choose Occlusion, you get the katana. Moving on from there, what's better than a katana? A great katana. Now, great katanas are a new weapon type in the DLC. There's a couple I found. This one isn't the flashiest, but the Rakshasha's great katana is definitely the beefiest of the bunch. There's a Dragon Slayer one that I really like the Ash of War on, but this one is really nice in the sense that it kind of brings dexterity in line with strength in terms of its AoE potential. This is just a very no-nonsense weapon. It does a lot of damage. I'll let him call out the friends. You can see when wielding, the attacker is less likely to stagger from counterattacks, but will also take increased damage. One of the very nice perks that's on this one. And the Ash of War Weed Cutter is very basic, but it is like the definition of like, it's honest work, but it gets the job done. You know, we're literally just cutting down weeds. We're just cutting through. Like, no, I don't want to get staggered anymore. As long as you have stamina and FP, you're gonna keep doing those sweeps. So in that sense, very, very fun weapon. I think this was, in terms of the dex weapons, this was probably my second most favorite, just because it you know, I'm more of a strength guy personally, and this felt like a strength weapon for dex. You know, we have built-in poise, we're mowing down enemies. Very, very happy with that. And you're going to get this from one of the tombs in the game. You're going to go down and you know, how this is called Raksha's Great Katana, you're going to find Raksha and fight him. Moving on from there to Falx. Now, Falx is a curved sword, and one curved sword for 2, which is nice. And, you know, we're not new to curved swords. We know how good they can be. But the very nice thing about this one is the unique with Revenger's Blade. Now, you can see at first glance, this looks like any other curved sword. You know, it's going to struggle against things like great shields and whatnot. But the unique attack of this is designed to just cut through stuff. Actually, let's run this way. We'll get the troll to jump down, and we'll use it against the troll. This is a very, very strong attack. It's going to pump a lot of damage very fast. We're going to have to get rid of these idiots. Like all the other weapons until now, this one also has bleed built in. So, you know how our Dex players love their bleed. No arcane required, just bleed. So, the charge attack will... Oh, let me get rid of that last guy. The Ashavor is going to charge in, at which point we then have a follow-up attack that is just going to chop the enemy into pieces. So let's let him do a big move, leave himself a little exposed. Look at that damage. Once again, without the troll in our way, you dash in, hold heavy, boom, 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 boom. And that does a ton of damage. Not only does it do a ton of damage, but the amount of hits you're pushing out almost guarantee a bleed right there. Very, very strong weapon. And I'm a big fan of curved swords. You know, Scavenger's curved swords was a setup I think a lot of people were familiar with. And so this weapon is going to feel right at home. But you're getting that power at the cost of only 4 weight, because you get both swords for 1. And that's one of the things I really love about the DLC. We're getting so many weapons where when you go to two-handed, it's going to give you 2 weapons instead of 1. You know, honestly, I wish they like retroactively applied that to the base game, because it's such a phenomenal change. Moving on to our final weapon. And even though I'm not a Dex guy, this, if I had to pick one weapon for the DLC that was my favorite, it's probably this next one. Spear of the Impaler. As you can probably guess, this is Mesmer's Spear, and this is an absolutely phenomenal weapon. Like, even if you're not a Dex build, I think it's worth putting 35 in Dex just so you can use this thing. This thing is absolutely monstrous. It's a great spear, so we got that great spear moveset that you're probably very familiar with. You know, we can poke from behind the shield. We get some solid damage on it because it's split damage. You can see a little bit of fire that's in there. But the big sell of this is similar to Smith script weapons. We can throw it. Now, if I'm in combat, which these guys are dying instantly, so it's not counting, this would typically cost stamina. But our running throw chucks out the spears. Our, you know, if we roll into a heavy, that's going to chuck it out. Very similar to the Smith script hammer that we were using. The charge attack will hit and then explode in fire. And the best part of it... Oh no, something's chasing me. Dun, 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 dun. Look at that! I love it so much. Y'all have no idea how much time I spent in the DLC just like, I'm gonna get this fucking... Don't you think you're safe? Wah! And those are beefy throws. Those are very beefy throws. And in a similar fashion to the... greatsword, we can also use like the charge talisman on this. We can use the throwing talisman on this, obviously. And you just end up with a weapon that is an absolute delight to play with, you know. I said it in the last video, but, you know, the only downside of melee really is, oh, you know, we can't really deal damage at range. Like, we are doing insane damage from range with this. Like, these guys are getting one shot. In the DLC, I've seen this thing hit for upwards of 2,000 damage on a charge throw. These guys don't have the health to showcase that, but... And then the Ash of War is honestly one of the coolest I've seen in a long time. Kind of hard to get the full thing off. Face snipe. I love it. Just to show it again. Sweep, 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 sweep. Thrust, 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 and then slam and boom with all the spears out of the ground. Incredibly cool Ash of War. Like, if we were to rank Ashes of War in terms of coolness factor, out of every weapon in the game, this easily makes it in the top 5. One of the coolest weapon arts in the game, for sure. Either way, though, that is going to wrap things up for the Dex weapons that were my choice. Mesmer Spear Sweeps. This weapon it's so fucking good. But the next video, I want to take a look at unique weapons. What I mean by unique is weapons that have very diverse scaling that are going to be able to work with a variety of different builds that aren't really, you know, more heavily towards one thing than another. So either way, stay tuned, and we'll be taking a look at some of the unique weapons in the next part.